Welcome to No Facts Needed, and today we're going to be talking about fantasy football. I'm excited for this season.
I'm so ready for football.
I'm really excited.
I would
for
watch
this season.
the freaking two worst teams in the league play right now.
Yeah,
if I could.
I would too. Would you watch preseason though?
I'd watch the first week.
Quarterbacks, they're pretty cool. Let's jump right into it. First of all, if you didn't watch our video on draft strategy before,
Then what the heck are you doing?
then what we covered on quarterbacks is make sure you don't draft them in the first round, because the difference between the first and the last quarterback isn't as big of a drop off as the first and last running back.
Well, not last, but like middle.
Just the drop off between the best and the good is way bigger for running backs and wide receiver than it is for quarterbacks. So you can wait on quarterbacks, but having a good quarterback like Patrick Mahomes last year, it's hard to predict, but if you have one, it helps your team tremendously. Okay, Eli, do you want to go over your first one?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick
Old Patty.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a quarterback. He plays for the Chiefs.
He went off last year, and he went like a pick before me to one of our compadres in our league, and I had to hear about the whole year how he got Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes single-handedly brought a lot of teams to the championship last year.
Yeah.
But with that, for me, I just don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year, because I think there's only been like 3 quarterbacks that throw 50 touchdowns in a season. And
Or
only
score 50.
Yeah, score 50. And a handful of quarterbacks have even done 40. So my number one is Andrew Luck. I feel like every year a new quarterback jumps up and becomes an MVP candidate. And I think Andrew Luck, this is his time. I think he'll be what Aaron Rodgers was, like, what would you say, like 4 years ago? Probably just the best quarterback in the league, and has some good pieces around him, but it will single-handedly take his team to the playoffs and do really good.
Well, I think Mahomes, I don't think he's going to be what he was last year.
Yeah.
But the difference between him and second place, in terms of scoring, was just so great that I feel comfortable still putting him at number one. Because if he's 85% of what he was last year, he's still the number one quarterback.
Yeah,
and
I can see
it's
that.
big for him to not have to lose Tyreek Hill. So I would say I don't think Luck is. I just don't think he's one of those guys that's gonna put up monstrous stats like that. I could be wrong.
Well, I think why I think Luck's gonna do this is because his offense, they don't have anybody they can rely on besides Andrew Luck. But everybody he has around him isn't gonna hurt him. Like, they can all help him and help contribute to him being great, but nobody's gonna take off the offensive load off his shoulders. They don't have any great running backs. They have T.Y. Hilton. Let's get into our second one. Here's your second. My second quarterback.
Aaron Rodgers.
My second quarterback is not Aaron Rodgers. It's Patrick Mahomes. What a surprise. I think, like Eli said, exactly what Eli said. He's going to be good, and even if he's at his 90%, he could still be number one. But most likely, I think he's going to be the number 2. I think he's going to regress enough. I had Patrick Mahomes at like the 5th or the 6th quarterback because of Tyreek Hill missing 6 games. But because Tyreek Hill's here, that is his main guy. And them together, he can just throw it so far, and Tyreek Hill's so fast that he just has to throw downfield, and Tyreek Hill will go get it. And they drafted a wide receiver in the second round, which will help contribute to Patrick Mahomes' success. They have Travis Kelce. The only thing that sucks for Patrick Mahomes this year is that I don't think their run game will be as good, and I think people won't have to load the box as much because Kareem Hunt left them. So I think that'll help contribute to him regressing, but like Eli said, he's still going to be so good because he still has playmakers around him, and Patrick Mahomes himself is just so good that he'll at least, I think he'll be for sure top 5, probably number 1 or 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That's why he's my number 1, like you said. My number 2 is Aaron Rodgers because he's really good. And I think if I was still picking like one quarterback for one game, I'd pick Aaron Rodgers. And that's not necessarily how fantasy always works, but when Aaron Rodgers is rolling, he's like really rolling.
He's unstoppable.
Yeah, like in 2016 was that when he went on that crazy run? That's one of those quarterbacks who's going to be putting up 35 plus on a regular basis. So I'm not betting on that to happen per se, but he's been number one or in the top 5 at least multiple times, and that's pretty much all you can ask for.
Yeah. I agree too, because guess what? My number 3 is Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers, this is the best teams he's had for the last, I don't know, I would say 2 or 3 years for sure. Because their running backs are kind of developing. Devontae Adams is good. Some of their wide receivers have developed into good pass catchers. Their O-line is still pretty bad.
Nah.
I mean, it's...
When it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Like Eli said, on any given Sunday, he can be the best quarterback in the league. And I think his team will rely on him, and the offense will go through him.
Yeah.
Also, don't count on it, but every once in a while he'll run it in for a touchdown or get some rushing yards, and it's really nice for a quarterback to have, just because it adds on to all of his passing stats. And also, got a new head coach.
Matt LaFleur.
And
Tore his ACL, but
I feel good about Matt LaFleur, especially compared to Mike McCarthy. I'm pretty sure towards the end, Aaron Rodgers was just making his own play calls.
yeah, last year I'm pretty sure it was just like everything that could go wrong in Green Bay went wrong.
It was just a bad situation.
Mhm.
And I think this is Aaron Rodgers back.
But even when that happens, like we saw last year, Rodgers is still good. So pretty much no matter what happens with Green Bay, as long as Rodgers is on the field, you can bank on him being solid.
I think he's the most, out of all these quarterbacks we said, the most unlikely to bust. Does that make sense? I'm most confident in him more than any other quarterback. Who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Deshaun Watson. Not to be confused with Deshaun Jackson or any other Deshaun. From a fantasy perspective, what's not to like, baby? It's Deshaun Watson.
One thing not to like is that he gets injured a lot.
Shut up, Will.
He does get injured a lot.
Yeah, well, when he's on the field, okay? When he's on the field, the dude puts up numbers, okay? And he played 16 games last year.
No, I agree with you.
So,
He did play 16 games.
also another thing, if I don't know if it's possible their O-line can get worse. So, that's a plus for him. Same thing Same thing with their running game.
It kind of sounds like that's bad for him.
How? If they can't get worse from last year, that means they can only get better.
Yeah, but that means that they're still really bad.
Look, this much better is better than like not being better at all.
No, you're right. He did take the most sacks last year.
Yeah.
By like 6, I think.
And you can argue whether or not he would be good without DeAndre Hopkins, but that's not something you have to worry about in fantasy, because if they're both there, Deshaun's a good play. He's another one of those guys, any given day, he can put up the most fantasy points against pretty much any team. And he has a lot of success against the 2 teams in his division not named the Colts. Against the Colts, it's a different story usually, but yeah.
Want to hear something funny?
What?
Guess who my number 4 is? Deshaun Watson. I'm kind of with Eli. Deshaun Watson is just a baller. He's one of those running quarterbacks that, even if his passing isn't the best, his rushing really helps him out.
Yeah.
And it just boosts his value.
Yeah.
And like Eli said, he has DeAndre Hopkins, which in my opinion is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And one thing I've noticed about Watson is that he loves throwing to DeAndre Hopkins.
And he loves just bombing the ball deep.
Yeah.
If it's to Hopkins or even Will Fuller.
Well, Will Fuller, Kiki Kuti,
Braxton Miller, doesn't matter.
they have a lot of wide receivers that can catch the ball well. And
Well, at least run fast.
well, yeah, that's what I meant. Catching the ball. But if they catch the ball and get in an open field, it's great. And it just adds to his fantasy value. Deshaun Watson's one of those guys that if he gets enough time in the pocket, he can make any throw, and he's pretty accurate with the ball. I don't think he makes too many
he
bad
turns
mistakes.
the ball over a little bit, but you know.
I mean,
It'd
it
be like
happens.
that.
You
It'd be
know,
like-
it'd be
yeah.
like that.
Another thing I want to add: their run game sucks.
Yeah.
Like I said, can't get worse than last year, which I guess could be a good thing. But also, they're not going to be running the ball if it's not working. And they're going to be in a lot of situations where they're just like, yeah, Deshaun, you just take it.
Okay, who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Andrew Luck. My Andrew Luck is number 4.
My Andrew Luck?
Yeah. He's good. I don't think I'm not on the same page as you where I think he's just going to explode this year.
Yeah.
But I think he was on my team last year, and he's usually, you're not looking at like 35 plus with Andrew Luck. The good thing is you're just looking at like 24 plus, like almost every week.
Okay,
Yeah,
my number 5 is Russell Wilson.
My number 5 is Matt Ryan. You go first.
Okay, kind of like what I said with Deshaun Watson. He's pretty good at everything he does, and his O-line sucks, his run game sucks, so he has to throw.
The
And
Seahawks run game is really good.
what?
They were first in the league in rushing last year.
No, they weren't.
Yes, they were.
Were they?
Look it up. They ran like 65% of the time.
Okay, well we have a problem.
Got him.
So I was wrong, but besides the point, their team still runs through Russell Wilson.
Well, obviously.
Like, you know what I mean? Everything that happens goes through Russell Wilson. Not like from a technical, but like, you know, like metaphorically. He does everything for the offense.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
All right.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you. And the best thing about Russell Wilson, he probably, for sure, top 3 best running quarterback in the league right now.
Well, different kind of running quarterback because he's not looking to run, but yes.
Yeah.
He's the best scrambler in the league.
Yeah. But I think if Russell Wilson, he's just always been good over his whole entire career, and you can't really go wrong with Russell Wilson. It's kind of a nice, safe pick.
My number 5 is Matt Ryan. One thing I was actually not surprised to know, I just forgot that Matt Ryan was the number 2 quarterback last year behind Mahomes. But that's not necessarily why I'm ranking him here. I don't think he's going to do that because that's just a situation where you're down so much all the time because your team is just bad and you're just putting up kind of almost meaningless stats. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
this year, I think the Falcons and Matt Ryan will both like combine together to have a better season, like as a whole, than they did last year. Now, that doesn't mean that Matt Ryan is going to put up more fantasy points this year, but it does mean he's probably still going to put up a good amount. And he's probably going to be, you know, a highly ranked fantasy quarterback like he has been in the years past.
I like Matt Ryan, but he's not consistent enough, and he's one of those quarterbacks that we're kind of getting in the range where it's probably safe to have 2 quarterbacks, and depending on who they play, you have to pick.
Yeah, I think if you have Matt Ryan, he's your number 1 for sure, but you want to keep like maybe like a Mitch Trubisky or something.
Yeah,
Keep
I
it
agree.
on the down low.
Yeah. Okay, my number 6 is Carson Wentz. The only problem I
That's
have...
my ranking for Carson Wentz. Is number 6.
The only problem with Carson Wentz, the only problem with Carson Wentz is that he can't stay healthy.
Agreed.
If he can stay healthy, he can be an MVP candidate. He can be. I'm not saying that he's the greatest, but that's his ceiling.
Well, last year he didn't start the year great.
I am done. I'm sorry. No, yeah. I'm not saying that he's not always the best, but with the team around him, he has targets all over the place with Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Deshaun Jackson.
Just the scheme they run.
And they have so many pass catching running backs that it just works so well for them.
They just brought back Darren Sproles.
Yeah.
That's an 80-yard touchdown somewhere.
Somewhere. And they still have, what would you say, top 5 O-line for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, easy.
They're healthy for sure.
Mm-hmm. And just the weapons around him and his talent. He's one of those guys who can go run the ball. He's not going to try to run the ball, but he can, and he might score some touchdowns here and there. He's a good quarterback in a great situation, and like I said, he can be an MVP candidate.
When you watch the tape or when you watch his play, he's super, super good most of the time. Now, last year, like I said, he started a little inconsistent. I'm going to kind of chalk that up to his knee not being like, you know, him not having played football like he
Yeah.
should have. But I think this year, coming in fully healthy, it might be closer to what he was when they won the Super Bowl and he was healthy, where he was like MVP lock almost until he tore his ACL.
My number 7 is Matt Ryan.
My number 7 is Russell Wilson.
Ooh,
I think
flip-flop.
if we were like ranking these quarterbacks based on who's like which quarterbacks you'd rather have, I'd have Wilson a lot higher. But from a fantasy perspective, just because of how much Seattle runs the ball, he falls a little bit for me.
Yeah, I think with Matt Ryan, the whole consistency issue is kind of a problem with me. And I'd rather have a quarterback that I can trust to have, like you said, 24 points every single game than a quarterback that,
It might be 16 and might be 30.
yeah. The whole consistency and the problem with I have to have 2 quarterbacks on my roster because you can't trust Matt Ryan every single week. But with Russell Wilson or maybe Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, all the quarterbacks above, I only need them besides the bye week. Number 8?
Number 8, I got Super Cam.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I have Super Cam too.
Shocker.
Shut up. You know, I'm just tired of all this fighting.
No,
JK.
He's not kidding.
JK. Alright, Cam Newton. Another ceiling MVP candidate, floor kind of trash.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be closer to the MVP candidate or MVP candidate, but I think the reason he's so far down is that the quarterbacks above him have higher chances of being great. But Cam is like one of the major boomer bust. His running ability is probably number 1 compared to any other quarterback in the league.
Well,
I would say
Lamar.
the way, yeah. And I would say this is probably like other quarterbacks. This is Cam's best team he's had
Wow.
probably since the Super Bowl because they have some young wide receivers that I've groomed over the last 2 years. Still have Greg Olsen, Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, which I think he's going to be really good this year.
Don't spoil the running back video.
Sorry.
And you better watch it.
You better. I mean, you don't have to, but I just.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do. Or else.
Okay. Cam, I feel like the reason I put Cam here is because last year he was still pretty good from a fantasy perspective. What was he? 12th? And like half the year, his shoulder was just like broken. So this year, it basically is like, as long as he's on the field, he's going to be better than 12th into the top 10 for sure. And like you said, this team is about as good as they've had in Carolina in a long time. They've got Christian McCaffrey, who is a beast, and Cam should be able to, even if he doesn't score 50 touchdowns like he did his MVP year, he'll still be, putting up numbers like he normally does in fantasy.
Little fun stat. From week 2 to week 12, Cam threw at least two touchdowns,
In
some
every
3. That's kind of crazy to have that consistency.
Yeah.
One problem with Cam is that, like Eli said, he's injury prone. He only played 14 games last season, which isn't the worst. And he throws a lot of interceptions.
But again, if he has a healthy shoulder, it might help.
My number 9 is Drew Brees. I would say over the last, 5 years, Drew Brees has consistently been really good. Or pretty good. Like, pretty consistently good.
Well,
You know what I mean?
so he's kind of different these past few years that the Saints have actually been good than he was the years before, because whenever the Saints were just like going 7-9 every year, they were just like,
Airing it out.
airing it out every single time, because why the heck not? They were losing the game anyway. Now, these last few years when Kamara has really become a beast, his stats have gone down a little bit more, but that's kind of what the Saints are wanting, like him not to do everything.
Yeah.
But he's still really good.
I think if you can get him for a good value, which I think people will probably reach because it's Drew Brees and everybody loves Drew Brees, but if you can get him at a good value, he's going to consistently give you 21, 22 points every single week.
He might have a few games where you're like, what the heck, Drew? But
for the most part.
you can lock him in for 8 great games when he plays in New Orleans.
Yeah. And I think one of the best parts is that he doesn't throw a ton of interceptions, especially lately. In the last 2 seasons, he's thrown a combined 13 interceptions. And that's pretty good for a quarterback like him.
My number 9 is Phil Rivers, baby.
Would
But,
you rather have Phil with the Chargers or Phil with his kids?
I'd probably take the Chargers, but it's close. You know?
I think once in the prime, definitely the Rivers kids. Just the chemistry they have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like you don't really have to talk much about Rivers. He's kind of going to be in the same situation he was in last year, just putting up pretty good amount of points.
I think he's kind of like Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Kind of like these consistently good quarterbacks that if you can get for a good value and you don't have to reach, it's a win.
Who's your number 10?
My number 10, my boy Baker Mayfield. The weapons around him, if they can put it together, he probably has one of the best offenses. I would say like at least top 5.
On paper, for sure.
On paper, it still has to go together on the field. But with the addition of Odell and Kareem Hunt alongside already Jarvis Landry and
Callaway.
Callaway, I was gonna
Njoku.
say Joku. I was gonna say Nick Chubb, who's a beast.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield should be really good, and I think he will be. I don't think he's going to be MVP candidate because I don't think he's going to be like that. I don't think he's going to be that good, but I think he'll be pushing for top 5. And I think the talent he has around him, if he just doesn't mess up, then I think he'll be really good. Because if he just throws like slants all day, his playmakers have the athleticism to go score touchdowns.
I can see that. My number 10 is Drew Brees. We don't really have to talk about much more. It's Drew Brees. You don't really have to make a case for him anymore.
Yeah.
And that's all about all I got.
All you got. Anything else you want to add into all this?
Honorable mention.
Let's talk about some running quarterbacks. How do you feel about Kyler and Lamar Jackson?
Kyler I like.
Yeah.
Lamar I could see as a second quarterback on
Yeah.
the roster.
I think Lamar would be a nice late round pick that you can stash. And if he's putting up running back, if he's going to be a running back as a quarterback, I would start him. But I don't know how that all is going to work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
And then Kyler, he could be a good stash with good upside.
Kyler could be he could be a boomer, but I don't know. You know, he's a rookie. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. That's all we have about for this episode. I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you do good this fantasy football season. I really do.
Unless you're in my league, then
And you can suck it. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Oh.
Can't touch this.
You gotta do that.
Can't touch this.
No.
Can't touch this.
Don't do that.
So hard, makes me say.
I forgot the